Hello, tubers and tubettes. My name is David, and I live in Northern California, and I love California. Today is Sunday, and I'm just getting ready to go to the gym to work out. Did my church thing, went to breakfast with my wife and my grandson, and now here we are. My wife is taking my little grandson for a walk, and then I'm going to go do my 1 hour workout. I had an interesting conversation with my friend's brother. These are really good friends of ours that we've gone on vacation with, and we're very, very close to. And his brother and his mother were at the table. We went to the restaurant to eat, and we got into a big discussion about, dieting. And he's a big carnivore type of diet person, and cutting out veggies and fruits and everything. And I've seen that, myself, how you could get a benefit of losing weight. But I think that the downside is you could get a lot of cholesterol built up. And I do think that veggies are not bad for you. Now, it's hard for me to get over that because my mother was an organic farmer back in the 70s. And I spent a lot of time on the back of a rototillery the soil for my mom and adding supplements and, creating organic pesticides and eating really beautiful veggies. So it's hard for me to cut it out completely. But we had a good conversation, and I was explaining to him my weightlifting program, where I did 60 days of diet, intermittent fasting, and 10,000 steps a day. And then 60 days later, I switch into my weightlifting program, which I'm doing it again today. And so, yeah, he thought it was good. He thought everything I was doing was good. And he was telling me that he's doing all of this loss of weight, which he's lost a lot of weight. He says he's lost all of his visceral fat. I don't know how you know that, but I guess he's just lost most of his fat through this carnivore diet without any exercise. That's what he was telling me. So we're having a pretty good conversation over dinner, talking about our diets and what works and what doesn't work and why we're doing it and why we're doing that. And I was really impressed because he seems to be very knowledgeable about his diet, which is kind of like an Atkins, and um, well, it's mostly just eating meat. And but he's not just eating regular meat; he's also eating fatty meats. So he thinks the fat is good for your brain and all that other stuff. So, you start to get a certain amount of respect for the person because they seem to be super, super knowledgeable of what they're doing. They seem to be very, very health conscious. And then as we're leaving the restaurants, we actually said our goodbyes and we started to leave. I know he kind of waited for a while because I saw him across the street, but then he lit up a cigarette and he's smoking. And I'm like, oh my gosh. We ended up running into each other again when we went to our car. And I go, I noticed you're smoking. I go, that's not good for any healthcare thing. Oh, I know, but I'm not going to be able to quit. And it's really disheartening for me to see somebody that seems to care a lot about, weight loss and getting healthy and staying healthy and everything. And then him and also my friend, they both smoke, and I just have to shake my head, that you can have a lot of knowledge, but yet you can still be oblivious to doing what's right. It's good you're losing weight, but you're sucking all that smoke into your lungs. And they're both drinkers, which I don't have anything against drinkers, but I do think that alcohol is like a poison. I drink, maybe 1 or 2 beers a year, but they pretty much drink pretty, drink to get a little buzzed, which isn't bad. I think that's not good for you, but can understand that. People wanting to have a few beer, or even hard alcohol. I guess it's hard to. I don't want to be a downer on everything, but smoking is one of those things I just cannot get over because it's just so harmful to your system, not just um, your lungs. That's what you think it would just be your lungs. But I remember my dad, he'd been a smoker since he was 13. And then I think when he was 70, no, I would say 60, maybe 63, uh, he was starting to get sores on his leg from just a scratch or something. It wouldn't be anything major, but it would actually turn gangrene on him. And it had to do with poor circulation. And part of it was because of his poor circulation due to um, smoking. And they had told him that they wanted to do some operations or something. And one of the things that they said is like, because of the smoking, lack of oxygen, his veins were kind of like tissue paper. And if you had to cut the vein and then reconnect it, during a surgery, that it's like trying to take two uh, like noodles that are made out of tissue paper and you're trying to suture them together. They're not healthy at all. So it wasn't until the point where uh, these gangrene areas, he had to have pieces of his leg cut out, because the gangrene was going into his blood system. And then finally, they told him when he was about 63, he died at 67. So when he was about 63, they told him, well, we're going to go ahead and set that appointment up. We need to have you back on this, da 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 da. You can't eat anything prior to the surgery. And he's like, whoa, 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 what surgery are we talking about? They go, the surgery that we're going to need to cut your leg off. And my dad, up until that point, I think he just didn't take it serious enough. He had tried some experimental things too, where they put you in a pressure chamber, similar to like a scuba diver would go into it, and it puts you under pressure, and then you end up your blood circulates better, because it's experimental. But it did help my dad out a little bit. But he said that when he was trying to figure out about this scheduling of having his leg amputated because it was just full of gangrene, that he walked outside and after all those years from 13 till 63, um, all those 50 years of smoking heavily, he took the last pack of cigarettes that he had, threw them in the trash can, took a carton that he had in his truck that was half used, and he threw it in there. And he literally stopped cold turkey. He did not smoke again. And he did everything he could, you know, um, I think outside of exercising or altering his diet. He was also diabetic too. But he did do enough that he was able to get the circulation also with that experimental uh, hyperbolic chamber thing that they were doing, that he did not have to have his leg cut off. And so, but it was really the cutting of the smoking because your body does, tend to recover. And so I wish I could bring that story with me and somehow weave it into these discussions with other people, like this guy that I know, Jason, because he's paying attention to all the little stuff, which is losing weight, getting healthy, with less fat, but just overlooking the big elephant in the room, which is continuing to smoke. I know it's highly addictive. Believe me, my dad smoked all those years, and he was a good example for me not to ever smoke. So I've never smoked, and I just passed the amount of time that my dad lived on this earth. He was 67 when he died, and I'm past that now. So, and I've never smoked, and I don't. I drink. I don't really drink. I mean, I might drink a couple of beers a year, but I tell myself I don't drink, and I always bring that up. And a lot of my friends don't think I drink because I always tell them, no, I'm not a drinker. I don't drink. And I psychologically set myself up that way. I have no desire, to do it. In fact, when I do it, it's probably like a Modelo at a Mexican restaurant, and it's on draft or something. But I drink one and I'm done because of the alcohol. I've got it in my mind that it's poison. So, like I said, I wish I could have wove it into a story so I could tell somebody, but it's a dinner, so it's not really a dinner time story. But just what my dad had to go through and how much he cut off his life because of his inability to quit smoking till the very end. So I hope if you're a smoker, maybe this story will somehow give you strength, to pursue uh, stop smoking. And it's also good to lose weight. It's good to build muscle. But man, if you're a smoker, you got to stop that. You know it. I know it. Everybody knows it. You just got to stop it. So thank you much for finding me and tuning in. I appreciate it. Subscribe if you can, and I'll look forward to talking with you guys in the future. Thank you much, and have a great day.